ranking the quarterbacks from the 2025 NFL Draft, post-draft, based on their surrounding and supporting cast and their landing spots. And we're going to tell you why Cam Ward isn't even in our top 3. This and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Parson. I'm an offensive draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, guys. We're going to rank the quarterbacks from the 2025 NFL Draft post-draft. Not how we felt about them as prospects, but now we know what they've landed. What offense are they going into? What's the weaponry look like? We're going to get into every bit of that. But before that, guys, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Keith, coming into the draft, Cam Ward was my QB1. My top quarterback, Shador's QB2. And, Cam Ward went first overall to the Tennessee Titans. But because of that, he's not my QB1 in this rankings. I think the Titans have a lot to do to really build up this roster around him. And they were drafting first overall for a reason, right? It wasn't just Will Levis wasn't good. He wasn't good, but it wasn't just him. It was a lot of things wasn't right. They got Calvin Ridley, but who else do they have at receiver, right? Like they had to bring in Tyler Lockett. They drafted 2 receivers, 2 guys that I do like, Eli Ayumana and Shamir DK during the 2025 NFL Draft in like the 4th round, brought in Gunnar Helm, the tight end, just young guys, and signed Xavier Restrepo after the draft as well. But Keith, I'm going to tell you right now, at least for now, number 1 is Tyler Shough for me. I like what Tyler Shough goes into. And all the talk coming out of New Orleans, from what I've heard, is that he's expected to be the starter because this whole Derek Carr injury is going to prolong his ability to get on the field. So for me, I look at the situation of, okay, Tyler Shough walks into an offense with Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, 2 explosive deep threat wide receivers. Olave is a really good route runner. Taysom Hill plays that tight end spot. Juwan Johnson, is the pure tight end where Taysom is just a do-it-all, kind of gadget glue guy for him. They improved the offensive line, and which is a good thing because I think I said it on the stream when he was selected. Everything is good if you keep him untouched. I think the injuries with Tyler Shough really mess with his mind to where he doesn't like to get hit. So when he feels like he's about to get hit, you start seeing some wild Disney cartoon character decisions, and he's putting the ball in harm's way. He's got to clean that up. But I think what he'll be throwing to, what he have in the backfield, is improve offensive line. I think Kellen Moore is a coach that can get him comfortable early. He's my top guy right now. I still love Coach Callahan. Love Cam Ward. That receiving core bothers me a little bit because it's outside of Calvin Ridley. It's like, what else do we have?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jaxson Dart, right? And it's important to remember the preface of what we're doing. We're talking about potential best landing spots. I'm gonna go with Jaxson Dart. And the reason is, one, you get a Russell Wilson and a Jameis Winston. That you have 2 veterans, right? 2, and I'll even say it, I'm proven veterans at the end of the day, right? Like Jameis Winston has thrown for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns in the NFL, right? You can say, okay, threw for interceptions too, fine. Pick the touchdowns and learn from those, right? Russell Wilson is a proven Super Bowl champion, right? He's been in the big lights, been in the big moments. He's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, right? He's been a Pro Bowler in his past. So you should be able to learn a lot from those 2 guys. And more importantly, you don't have to step on the field immediately, right? Like you're not like, and I think in this situation, nobody's expecting Jaxson Dart to be the starter right away. So there's not a whole lot of pressure. And then the last part of it, I would say, is that Brian Daboll, right? Brian Daboll has won with Josh Allen. He's won with Daniel Jones. He's won, and during his time at Alabama. So you would think that he can, I feel like he had opportunity to get his quarterback. And I feel like is his quarterback because Jaxson Dart kind of fits the profile of the quarterbacks that he's had in the past as far as a good runner, right? Like good mobility overall. And then they have the adequate to good to strong arm strength, right?
Yeah.
And so he has his guy finally. So I think he's going to be able to pour into Jaxson Dart. We know this is going to come down to decision making for Jaxson Dart, right? Like how does he make decisions in big time moments? But I think Jaxson Dart kind of has everything. When we put together an equation of how to get a quarterback once you drafted him as a rookie to be a good starter, he has the surrounding elements, and some of it has to do with not the on the field stuff. Just you have a good head coach, proven /OC. You have veterans to learn from, and you don't have to touch the field right away.
No, that's a good point, Keith. And he's inside my top. He's inside my top 3. I actually, like I said, I have Tyler Shough at 1. I actually have Jalen Milroe at 2. And it's really the Seattle Seahawks offense. When you look at what's around the quarterback, like you feel great about that if you're the quarterback, right? The Jaxson Smith-Njigba, watching him take Jaxson Smith-Njigba in year 2 took the mantle of wide receiver 1 from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and made both of those guys expendable. Bringing in Cooper Kupp, right? They brought in they drafted Ty Felton to be the field stretcher, the explosive guy. You got
which I love, by the way. Like he's going to make for a great number 3.
I love that, right? And then you got Noah Fant. Then you go get the guy that compares right to Noah Fant, Elijah Arroyo, or I think second round or whatnot, day 2 of the draft. They got Gray Zabel to play either the center or guard spots for them. Abraham Lucas is going to have an offseason to get healthy, right? You got Charles Cross who's going to get hit. He's going to get paid. And then you got they got like 4 running backs, man. Like 4 guys that could tote the rock in Seattle. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. They drafted Damian Martinez this year. And then the same year they drafted Zach Charbonnet, they drafted the Georgia running back. I'm blanking on his name right now. But they got 4 guys that could tote the rock, catch the ball out of the backfield. Like this offense just needs that trigger guy. And Sam Darnold being there, I think he signed like a 3-year deal, but it's really a 1 year in terms of guarantees. So if Jalen Milroe, don't play him, of course, this year. Don't start him this year. They already said that, hey, he's going to get on the field. And I feel like Mike McDonald, that ties to Baltimore and seeing I think he was in Michigan when they did it, but still he understands what Baltimore did with Lamar. When Joe Flacco was there, they got Lamar on the field to create explosive plays in packages with his legs. Then we'll create some stuff with his arm. I think you're going to see that same thing with Jalen Milroe just to keep defenses off balance. But yeah, man, I got Jalen Milroe at 2. I think he's walking into a great situation to really learn that offense, master it, and really develop behind Sam Darnold for at least a year.
Yeah, the Georgia running back you was talking about, DP, Kenny McIntosh, right? And I think they doubled down with those running backs in the same draft. And I think me and you was talking about this. We was like, okay, so they're just going to take all the running backs, right? Like nobody wants them.
They did it again.
They're going to stockpile the running backs. But I agree with you. Jalen Milroe sits high for me also, right? Like inside of that top 3, just like you said, because of the situation, not having to play early. He's going to be able to sit down. He's going to be able to learn. And then I think this, DP, they drafted him in the 3rd round, right? That's still starter territory as far as you being able to draft starters. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jalen Milroe in kind of rundown situations, right? They implement him in certain things to kind of be an X factor with his legs early on, but also let him get comfortable, right? Go sub in, take a snap, and then you can come back out, kind of regroup. Like, all right, I got my first snap ever under my belt, right? Like it was positive. I ran the ball for 8 yards, and then the game can start to slow down for you that way. Just overall, which I think could be really good for him. Real quick, lastly, if we're talking about the top 3, we talked about Cam Ward, right, which he's going to be out of the top 3 for both of us. Jaxson Dart, Jalen Milroe. The sneaky pick for both of these guys, I would say this, Quinn Ewers. And the reason is that, and I'm going to say Quinn Ewers is because, one, that offense design, right? You're talking about McDaniels being able to put together everything and do what he does best. Then if they keep Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that's something to watch out for. And I'm not going to preface this as far as like banking on Tua getting injured, right? But if Tua gets injured, now they have a true backup. Like in Quinn Ewers, there's a reason why he was talked about in the second round. There's a reason why he went in the 7th round, but there's also a reason why he was talked about as a first, second round quarterback just a few years ago, right? Like less than a year ago. And I think him in the side of this offense, he has the talent. Now it's like, hey, if there's an opportunity, right, via some type of injury or anything like that, can he step in and play and make some plays in an offense that I think we can say, if you talk about, Mike McDaniel coming from San Francisco, right, and you watch what they did, it's a quarterback-friendly system. We've seen the very best of Tua Tagovailoa with this system. So I think that's a sneaky situation because that guy is talented. I could tell you he didn't go in the 7th round just based purely off of on the field issues. It may have been other things, right? Like because he has enough talent to get drafted higher than that. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. We had a couple curveballs. I threw a curveball in right at the very end. Let's talk about quarterbacks 4 through 7 as far as who landed in the best spots possible. We're gonna talk about that coming up next.
Say goodbye to sticky notes, scribble plans on the fridge, and overlapping calendar invites. The Skylight Calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. This sleek digital display syncs with your existing calendars, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, and reminders all in one easy-to-see place. And you can remove the I didn't know or I forgot for us husbands. I forgot about that plan, honey. I forgot about that to-do list. And then also everybody gets color-coded items on the list so that you can track everything. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/NFL. Go to skylightcal.com/NFL for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/NFL. Ranking quarterbacks from the 2025 NFL draft, post-draft, and their landing spots. Keith, at number 4, I do have Cam Ward. I think, of course, he's going to start. You love what Coach Callahan is going to do. They actually, at first I felt like, when it was a conversation with him and Shador going at 1 to Tennessee, who was going to be the guy. For a while, I felt like it would have been Shador, because Shador is the pocket passer, the guy that you want, that you feel like plays better in terms of timing and rhythm and everything. And then the more I watched it and like started pairing Ward to the offense, I'm like, okay, he fits very well to what Callahan does as well. The spreading out, going into shotgun, he's very comfortable with that. The run game, the RPO stuff, he can hit the quick, short, intermediate routes and then attack down the field. Unlike with Will Levis, he was just I want the deep ball type of guy. He didn't give you much in the short to intermediate. I felt like, okay, Cam Ward fits this. Now it's all about getting this receiving coordinates. They can run the ball. Like they got Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. They drafted Khalil Mullings. Day 3 of the draft. Day 3 of the draft. You're gonna be able to run the ball. Now, what do we do with the passing game, right? Like you got Tyler Lockett, who's expected to be the slot guy. Calvin Ridley is the number 1. Do I think that Cam Ward is the type of guy that needs to have all-star guys around him? No, not necessarily, because he didn't do that. Miami didn't have a bunch of all-stars around him, right? Like he elevated that passing attack, but I do want to see them figure it out. Like, not saying that you got to go out here and make a big trade for Tyreek Hill or George Pickens, some disgruntled wide receiver 1, and throw the bag at them. But you got to figure out who's going to be on the field with this young guy, like, and get him comfortable early in games, and get the guys on the field that are going to make the plays. Like, hey, you want your quarterback to be able to say, I can drop back, throw the ball. These guys are going to be at their spot. They're going to catch the ball. They're sure-handed. I forgot Treylon Burks is still there. We'll see if he can stay healthy or if anything can, manifest with that. That's a long shot at this point. But I got Cam Ward at 4.
No, I'll put him in the same slot, DP, just because the talent is there, right? It's not a top 3 situation, but I don't think it's a horrible situation. It's not some of the worst situations that we've seen in the past in regards to quarterback landing spots, right? I'm going to go this next. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns situation, and I got to put both quarterbacks up there, right? Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders, because you have a clear opportunity to play and to start. You have Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. You say, and we talked about this, they're probably going to keep one of the veterans, right? And then it makes sense to keep one of the veterans, and then bring in one of the young guys. And I'm gonna have to put this in a vacuum that I'm talking about for this year, because if the Cleveland Browns project to be as bad as they are, projected to be, then it's going to quickly turn into one of the worst situations, because then now you're going to have them drafting the quarterback top 5, and it will happen, right? But for this year, because they get to learn from a veteran, and then also, like I said, there's a clear path for them to go ahead and start, DP, and it's really, can I beat out my counterpart, right, to be QB2, and then I should have an opportunity to start, because if this goes bad, as far as the Cleveland Browns winning and their schedule and stuff, it goes bad, Joe Flacco is not going to stay there, right? The fan base is going to want to see one of those young guys. So basically, you battling for QB2 is you battling to start probably after week 6 or something like that. And you have to look at it like this. If I'm the agent of Shedeur Sanders, I'm the agent of Dylan Gabriel, I'm telling you know what? This a resume year, right? Like, go ahead and stamp it, and then guess what? They could go ahead and take whatever quarterback they want to take top 5 next year. Go ahead and trade me, send me somewhere so I can go ahead and be a starter. But what you're trying to do is you're just trying to build your resume and show NFL teams like this. This is a showcase, right? That's what the Colorado, that's what they call their pro data, the showcase. This is a showcase to be able to showcase that I could play well in the NFL, and then now you may be one of those quarterbacks that's on the move to be a starter somewhere else, and it potentially wouldn't be a bad thing, right?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I had I had both of the guys at 5 as well. Like, I was just like, can't put one over the other. They're in the same exact spot. And we don't know who's going to be the victor in terms of getting the most playing time in 2025. But you feel like, getting Quinn Shawn and Dylan Sampson, that, hey, they're going to be able to run the ball, have 2 really good running backs in the backfield, 2 young guys.
They have a good defense too. The Browns have a good defense.
Legit defense, especially now that you add Mason Graham. Again, I think there's
Carson Sweston.
Carson, I forget. Yeah, they drafted Carson Sweston top of round 2. So, and I think the report was that Myles Garrett wanted Mason Graham on his defensive line. So now you got Mason Graham, Myles Garrett, Michael Hall. I think Alex Wright is a defensive end from, I think, UAB, a 6'6", 6'7" guy from a couple years ago that they're high on. So you're like, man, like and that their secondary is good. So like, okay, we're going to be in games. That's why I don't know if they're going to be as bad as people think, because the defense is going to keep them in games.
That's what I
run
think
the ball
too.
Well, they're going to still be in games. And it's like, you know what? If we get the right quarterback play, the right decisions made, we can squeak out some 2017 wins, some 24-17 wins, or 24-21 wins, and just squeak out enough to where we're not picking first overall. And I think that's where the quarterbacks, whoever gets to start, whether it's Dylan or Shedeur Sanders, whoever's the quarterback, that's your goal, is to go out there and play well, be efficient, be effective, and then force the team. Like, you got to knock the team out of contention for one of the
That's
top
what I was about to say. Yeah, you go ahead and try to. The other side of that is you go ahead and try to play well enough that you play them out of a top 10 pick, right? That's how you secure your job. You go ahead and play us into selection 15, and then guess what? You may have your job next year.
No, 100%. And fans may not like it because they're going to want that shiny new toy. But yeah, I think them Shedeur, that combination of Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel at 5 makes a lot of sense. Keith, I had Quinn Ewers at 6, and not as high as you had him, but for every reason you said, if he gets in with the offense they run, with the weapons they have, they can run the ball whenever Mike McDaniels decides to run it. Yeah, like, he's got the accuracy, and the arm talent is good enough, to be able to attack the defense and again get the ball and just be that point guard. He just be the right-handed version of Tua, and he's a little bit he's functional as an athlete to get out of the pocket and run. Where Tua did do a little bit of that, but because of the injury history, you don't want Tua doing it, because you're like, hey, once you get out of the pocket and then you try to slide, someone hits you, you get a the back of his head hits the ground. Now another concussion. You gotta work, at the end of the day, you gotta protect him and long lasting of life. So I think Quinn Ewers definitely has a shot at that 6 spot to be a guy that if he ever gets on the field, you're walking into a really, really good situation. They've improved the offensive line in Miami as well. So some projection with what was it? Patrick Paul. I was about to say Chris Paul, like Patrick Paul. At the left tackle spot, they drafted Jonas Avenea from Arizona to play I think left guard as well.
Which I like that selection too.
I love that, right? Like, so now, like, and then, hey, for Tua, that's not his blind side, so you're fine with that, with those two young guys. Like, Tua sees that side and everything. So I think that's a really good spot in Miami. Keep that 7. I got Will Howard. I don't know, like, and I think for me, it's just like this Aaron Rodgers thing could go a lot of different ways. It can go a lot of ways, and not many of them are good. Like, it could go solid. It could go, well, you started good and then you start playing bad, or it could just go bad from the jump. And you're like, you know what? We need to refresh the palette. Let's get the rookie in there. Like, let's go ahead and just sit Aaron Rodgers. Let's get the rookie in there and see what Howard can do. But that offense, Jalen Warren, I saw a quote from Mike Tomlin on why he selected Caleb Johnson. He said Caleb Johnson ran in a pro-style offense, and he has pro-style runs all on his tape. So you got Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson, Pat Frymuth, Darnell Washington, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson will be healthy. I'm excited to see what he can do now that he's healthy and gets an actual offseason, barring he stays healthy, to make an impact. We saw what Calvin Austin was able to do some of the gadget stuff, be a special teamer, but then bring some verticality out of the slot and then, explosive plays after the catch. Yeah, if Will Howard could get in, this is a situation where, hey, you just be Clark Kent. Like, you do not have to do anything major for us. Just come in, run the offense, hand it off when we actually hand it off, be accurate with the football in the short to intermediate. And when the deep ball is there, take that shot and throw it up to those big body playmakers that can go up and make plays at the catch point. So, yeah, I got Will Howard at 7.
Yeah, DP, I like that. Well, let's do this, man. Let's wrap this list up with quarterbacks 8 through 10. We're talking landing spots. We're ranking QB landing spots for success, opportunity to play, and just overall good situations. Let's wrap this thing up with quarterbacks 8 through 10 coming up next.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And you talk about betting on guys to play big and show up in the biggest moments. You got to look at Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks and or Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics, 2 stars that will be dueling it out in the playoffs in round 2 in the Eastern Conference. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 back in bonus bets. Again, bet your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 back in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Keith at number 8, man. Who do you have out of this? Because after you get kind of past 5, everybody's a backup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of tough when you all the names are like, yeah, you're behind the starter right now. But who do you have at 8, Keith?
Now I want to finish the Will Howard conversation. And that's why I had at 8. And everybody knows, if you listen to this podcast, I like Will Howard. And he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers like I predicted him. He just went 6 rounds later. That's all. But I like the situation, and I'll tell you this: I think if I had to rank opportunity to play, I'll probably put him in the top 3 to 4. I watched, was traveling during the draft, DP, and I decided to watch the Aaron Rodgers documentary thing that he had come out probably about a year ago or something like that, or he recorded about a year ago. And I watched it, and I was like, there is no way, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, that I'm banking on this. And just because what I got from Aaron Rodgers is that the game of football doesn't challenge him anymore. He's looking for new challenges and new things, and he's just playing football now. He's not actually like taking it as a challenge. So I wouldn't want a guy that's not 100% motivated and committed, you know what I'm saying, to the situation. So
and he's ready to retire.
Yeah, and that's ready to retire, right? Like if you're consistently thinking about it, that means that you potentially don't want to be here. And if you don't prioritize football as the number one thing in your life as my franchise quarterback, I don't want no parts of it. Point blank, period, right? It's just time to move on. So I look at Will Howard and I'm saying this guy has a true opportunity to play this year. I think he can. I think, like, if you look at it from that perspective, there will be opportunity for him to play. And like you said, you factor in injuries and things like that. So I have Will Howard at number 8. And then if I keep going, right, and I had to look at some of these other quarterbacks, I'm like, hey, that's not bad landing spots. I probably look at Kyle McCord with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's a fun situation just because obviously you're clearly the backup, right? But
yeah,
Kyle McCord has some mobility to him, right? Like he's not a stagnant quarterback. He's not just a pocket passer. So there's certain elements that you do with Jalen Hurts that you can do with Kyle McCord, right? And I talked about this previous to the draft that he has Baker Mayfield-esque kind of mobility, right? Like kind of, I think pretty similar builds and kind of same stature type of situation that, so, and Baker Mayfield is known for his ability to scramble and things like that. So if you're talking about in garbage time, him getting in the game and learning the game and things like that, I think this could be a good offense in a good situation, and let alone the wide receiver core that the Philadelphia Eagles have, the running game that the Philadelphia Eagles have. So I think having all of those talented pieces sets the foundation for Kyle McCord to be a good quarterback moving forward because he's going to learn the game the right way because he's in a good situation.
Yeah, man. I think Kyle McCord, I had at 8, Keith, and I think, I said it, when he was drafted, I'll say it again. I would not be shocked if a team probably tries to pull off a trade for Tanner McKee during preseason. You know what I mean? Or even during the season, like if a starter goes down and you don't have a viable backup, teams wanted Tanner McKee, I think, this offseason, but the Philadelphia Eagles was like, no, like we'll trade Kenny Pickett, but you're not getting Tanner. But then I think now getting Kyle McCord makes Tanner a little bit more expendable to where you can get extra picks for the 2026 draft, which Howie Roseman loves. He loves his draft picks. So being able to get a potential 4th round pick where he's done a great job adding or having great, draft classes over the past couple of years and being one of the GMs that's called the best GM in the league. I think Kyle McCord can come in, run this offense, get the ball to the weapons, like a guy that's a good passer, good arm talent, is a 3-level thrower, but he's also a guy that changed a program and he can bring some of that leadership in and pair well, not being a threat to Jalen Hurts, but being a compliment to Jalen Hurts, and those two working in tandem, stuff like that. Like I really like Kyle McCord. I think he has. Again, my confidant was Kirk Cousins. I think he has starter potential in this league if he gets the opportunity with the right team. I absolutely think he could be a long-term starter for a team similar to how Kirk Cousins has been.
Yep.
But Keith, at number 9, I went again. Like all these guys are backups. Curtis Rourke in San Fran intrigues the crap out of me. And I know the report is Brock Purdy is about to get $50+ million. All right, that's fine. Good luck. That's it's a high price tag for a guy that I look at as a hitch. No disrespect to him, he could play, but we got to see how it looks without. Because when you get paid, you kind of price out other guys. So we got to see how that looks after a year, and certain guys are not there, or things of that nature, right? But we know he could play, especially in this Kyle Shanahan scheme. Well, Kyle Shanahan loves quarterbacks like Curtis Rourke. Like he loves these type of quarterbacks, the guys that aren't the most mobile, like the most nimble guys in the pocket, don't have the best arm talent and things of that nature, but they're accurate, they're smart, they get the ball out on time, and they get it to their weapons. That's what he wants. He wants a in-rhythm thrower. And we watched Curtis Rourke, and crazy enough, I didn't think it was true at first, but apparently it was. He played the season in 2024 with a partially torn ACL.
Yeah,
which is nuts. Which is absolutely nuts that he played the entire season. He played good ball, and I think he was 6'5", almost 6'6", 220+ pounds. Again, like short to intermediate, the velocity is solid. He throws with a good touch and arc down the field. I think this is a guy, especially with what they have. Ricky Pearsall, he came on late last year, and everything. Brandon Ayuk is still there for now. I don't know. Like I don't. That's a very volatile situation. Like we could wake up one morning and get an alert that Brandon Ayuk's been traded. Maybe not right now, but even during the season, right? So he's still there. They Jacob Cowing, George Kittle got his money. CMC's back. They drafted Jordan James. Jawan Jennings is there as that kind of power slot, middle of the field worker. And the offensive line is pretty good. So, and the defense, they clearly wanted to improve that side of the ball. They went heavy defense in the 2025 NFL draft. So I think, if anything happened, because I think ever since that elbow injury against Philly, he's been having some arm issues, like throwing shoulder. I think it was the throwing shoulder, the throwing arm that he hurt in terms of Brock Purdy. If he ends up having that pop up again, Keith, like Kurtis Rourke could absolutely. I think is Jimmy G back there? I can't remember, but I know that Kurtis Rourke can absolutely step in and run this offense the exact same way that Kyle Shanahan wants it to be ran.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's why that was a sneaky spot too. Like when you pay attention to those round 7 selections. And that's 2 round 7 guys we mentioned, DP. I mentioned Quinn Ewers at the top of the podcast, and you just wrapped it up with Kurtis Rourke. But we talk about one back to the scheme, right? Easy QB-friendly scheme for both of those guys. And then they have pieces around, to kind of –
Riley Leonard, I forgot. Number 10, Riley Leonard. I don't think he will actually play much because they got A-Rich and Daniel Jones.
I was going to mention him too, yep.
But my comp for him was Daniel Jones. I just like that. That was my comp. Like he reminded me a ton of Daniel Jones.
And I'll say this: you know what? That situation is dysfunctional enough. Who knows? Exactly. We may see Riley Leonard, right? They may decide.
We might.
Who knows at the end of the day? But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damen Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.